and welcome to my review of the United Race Design Formula Pack. The talented folks at URD have produced 5 single-seater cars that bear a striking resemblance to the Dallara DW12 Indycar. Assetto Corsa, being a very European-focused racing sim, has a distinct lack of US open-wheel race cars, so this pack is filling a gaping hole in the game's content. If super-fast single-seaters make you grin like a 6-year-old with their first Lego set, stick around to find out if the United Racing Design Indycars live up to the expectation. On the whole, the car models are excellent quality, and clearly this is an area to which significant attention has been directed. The 3D models for the road and oval versions of the cars are pretty accurate to my moderately trained eyes, and while I can't tell if they're millimetre perfect, they capture the look of the prototype very well. The same goes for the differences between the Honda and Chevy aero kits, with both models capturing the look of their respective aero philosophies. If I were to nitpick, the models fall ever so slightly short of the bar set by official content from the likes of Kunos and iRacing in recent years. Small but largely irrelevant cockpit details are omitted from the models, such as seatbelts, pedals and other small doodads that are pretty much out of sight when you're either driving the car or when you're watching a replay. So I appreciate that some compromises have to be made by modders in order to avoid a slow, inelegant descent into madness. And if this is the sort of thing that bothers you, seek help. Obviously, this isn't a licensed mod, and as such, there are some compromises when it comes to the car skins. But the liveries do a great job of aping the real-world 2015 IndyCar series. It's immediately possible to tell a definitely not Penske car from the why would anyone think this is a Chip Ganassi car, for instance. Even the sponsors are reduced in pretty similar typography, but with modified names. Thankfully, the skins don't have fake driver names attached, so you don't get that circa 2001 Pro Evo soccer feel. There's not a single Bill Flowers, Jan Pedro Mendoza or Elliot Fastroneves in sight. The road course variants feel pretty close to how I would expect a Dallara DW12 to drive. This is of course highly subjective and about as scientific as licking the terminals of a battery to see how much charge is left. The URD cars are fast, responsive and grippy, but once you get close to the limit they're quite challenging. Some of this may be down to the stock setup, which seems to favour turn-in and power oversteer, though I managed to dial this out a little with a couple of quick tweaks to the diff. And I'm pretty sure with some more detailed setup work this would reveal some more options. I will admit, the force feedback felt a little odd to start with. The steering's quite heavy compared to other Assetto Corsa cars, and as a consequence I found the force feedback was clipping on my T300 at normal settings. However, once I turned the force feedback gain down a little, the more subtle details of the road surface were revealed, and to be honest, it's quite comparable to other single-seater cars. I think there are subtle handling differences between the Honda and Chevy cars, but as a highly fallible, organic bipedal being, I'm susceptible to all kinds of mental trickery, so this could just be the placebo effect, and I'm certainly not going to commit to that idea. As you may have already heard, the sounds in this mod are a bit of an acquired taste, but I'm not a fan of the Assetto Corsa sounds in general, so take my opinion with a pinch of salt. The internal sound of the URD Indy cars is a bit nasal sounding to my ears, and surprisingly loud compared to other similar cars. So loud in fact, that I can't hear my virtual race engineer over the sound of the engine, though you may think that's a blessing. The external sounds a little better from a single car source, though you may struggle to hear other cars over your own. And in replay mode, the external sounds seem to have weird phasing issues that you probably already heard in this video. While all of that may seem negative, it's not all bad. The sounds are aggressive, and when you're in the car it definitely aids with the immersion. So in my opinion, the car sounds are definitely the weakest part of the mod, but that says more about the high standards that have been set in all of the other areas. I'd like to take a moment to talk about the Indy Lights car on its own quickly, as it doesn't really have a lot in common with the other 4 cars in the pack. This car is brilliant fun. For the first couple of laps I was a little sceptical, but by the end of the session I was having so much fun that my wife pretty much had to pry me out of my racing seat with a crowbar so I'd come and have my dinner. I'm not great at adulting. Anyway, I'm a big fan of support series style single-seaters. They allow you to take a fast, grippy aero car and race it at the sort of tracks that would give Charlie Whiting an aneurysm, and the Indy Lights car fits this model perfectly. Like its big brothers, the URD Indy Lights car is a great 3D model, and it drives very, very well. It's the sort of car that rewards being driven hard, and throwing this thing into mid and high speed corners is a bit of a rush. All in all, it's fairly easy to drive, but to keep it at the limit's a challenge. As for the noisy stuff, I think the sounds for the Indy Lights car are a little better than the regular Indy cars, though it's still a bit on the loud side, which isn't really a massive issue. If you haven't stopped watching to go and buy the United Racing Design Formula Pack, let me impart one final detail. It costs just over £3. That's about 4.5 units in freedom bucks. Or, to use the currency of our future overlords, about the same as a coffee at Starbucks. As you can probably tell, I'm more than happy with the value proposition here. But more than that, the Formula Pack's good, great even, not just good for the money. This is something that shouldn't be a question, just go and buy it. Now I hope you've enjoyed this review. Moreover, I hope you've enjoyed it enough to donate your future attention by hitting the subscribe button. So until next time, thanks for watching and goodbye.